Good morning, it's Heather and Phil, and we are in our blind that we constructed on the back porch. And this is really only the second time we've gotten a chance to use it. The first time was last week, and it was pouring rain, and we didn't do any good. And this week we've got a very cold but sunny morning, and we've got nice sun angle on our perches. And we are out here again. We're both using our R7s and the 100 to 500 lens, but we're not using all of it, right around 300 millimeters, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And so far, all we've seen is a song sparrow and a mockingbird, and also a tufted titmouse came up and landed on a wrought iron bird feeder, and I didn't get a shot because I was about to make this clip, but Heather got it. So let's look at those and keep working. The first bird we saw this morning was this beautiful song sparrow, and we had been out there in the blind for a few minutes before we saw this bird, so we were really happy to see it because we were worried that no birds were going to show up. And then we saw the mockingbird, which we saw the mockingbird a number of times. It kind of came and went throughout the morning. And next up is the song sparrow again, but now we've got a little bit of sunlight breaking through the clouds, so there's some nice warm light on the song sparrow. Here's a few of Heather's shots from the early part of the morning. She got a nice photo of the song sparrow, and she made a couple of photographs of the northern mockingbird there on the back porch, including this next shot with some nice warm light on the northern mockingbird. Oh, there's a bird out there. Here are a few photographs that we got of one of the cutest birds in the world. This is the tufted titmouse. I love the colors of this bird. I love its tuft of feathers on its head. It's just so cute, and we enjoy seeing these, and we really enjoy photographing them because they're very photogenic with all their beautiful colors. And I was able to get quite a few shots, and next up are a couple of shots that Heather got of the beautiful tufted titmouse right there on our back porch from our homemade blind. The beautiful tufted titmouse right here in Tennessee. We're starting to get lots of activity now, but every time something small comes up, the mockingbird comes and spooks them. So we're getting lots of mockingbird pictures. Here's a few mockingbird shots from this morning, and we were using automatic ISO with manual aperture wide open and manual shutter speed. We had our exposure compensation set to -1 full stop, and that helped us protect the bright areas of the birds. And you know, a lot of people, when they set their blind up, they set it up to where they have backlit shots. But I learned from the great Arthur Morris that you should have the light on the bird and the light on your back. And so this is the way we set our blind up. And these mockingbird pictures, it was just one mockingbird. Here's Heather's mockingbird shots that kept coming up and spooking all the other birds. So this was definitely the dominant bird in our feeder and perch area this morning. So here is where the cat food sits on the railing. That's not part of the design, but instead of just throwing that cat food away, we thought we'd put it out here and see if anybody paid attention to it. And right here are two branches. The one in the back is actually screwed on, and there's I put black oil sunflower seeds beside it, and then I just laid this other branch here, and so in between those two branches there's black oil sunflower seeds, and sometimes the birds will perch on one of those two branches and you can get a shot. Right here's a suet feeder, another branch coming up. Got one chickadee shot on the top of this, and it was the only shot that was overexposed. We had our exposure compensation at -1, but the whites of the chickadee got blown out. Here's another branch just kind of festooned on here with a coat hanger. Sometimes the birds will land on that little branch, and sometimes the birds will also land up here on this wrought iron, which is connected to the porch down here somewhere. It's a good thing we were shooting raw because the blown out highlights were savable in the raw file, and the Carolina chickadee shots ended up being a couple of my favorites of the entire morning, and it was the only bird to land on top of that post. This is a male house finch. The females are all gray,
And the males are kind of photogenic, and although they're not our favorite birds to come to the feeder, we did enjoy photographing this one this morning. Next up, this is one of Heather's shots of the male House Finch. Just a beautiful small bird.
Our cat is so spoiled that it sometimes, if the food sits in its bowl too long, it refuses to eat it. So Heather poured some old cat food out on the railing, and most of the birds have ignored it, but a Carolina wren came up and paid attention to it.
Here is the Carolina wren pondering the pile of cat food photograph. I think I shared this one on social media, and Heather didn't take any shots of the wren on the cat food because she thought it was weird, but I thought it was kind of cool and unusual. This is something that you may have never seen before, a songbird eating cat food. And now we're back to some beautiful, beautiful shots of the northern cardinal that kept coming up and spooking the other birds. It's really fun to shoot from a blind. Look at these focal lengths, 223 millimeters, 254 millimeters. You know, normally when we're shooting birds of this size, we are at 500 every time. Here's Heather's shot. This is a female brown cowbird. I didn't get a shot of those, but 2 or 3 of them came up, and she also got this beautiful shot of the Carolina wren and one final photograph of the northern mockingbird, who was there all morning.
We've added the camo netting since we made our video about the blind, and just cut a couple of slits in it for our lenses to poke through. There's mine, and there's Heather's. And we set up our tripods in here. I took the scrap wood and just kind of piled it up behind us so that back window is a little more covered. And the roof, even though I made the right hand side an inch taller than the left hand side, the roof hasn't drained as well as I liked, so I took a piece of scrap board and just put it under the front of the blind to give it a little more rake. Today's February 5th, and it's cold, about 35 degrees this morning, so we ended up only staying out here for a couple of hours from about 7:30 until 9:30 or so. But we had pretty good luck this week. Last week was our first time trying out the blind, and it was rainy, very, very rainy. And while we stayed dry in the blind, the birds just didn't come out to our purchase. But as you've seen in this video, we did have some bird activity this week, and it was a lot of fun doing bird photography from the house, not having to drive around. And I think the blind is going to work out. The design is definitely not perfect, as you may have seen in the clip just before this one, but it's still working pretty good. And I think the perches that I have placed out here, there's room for improvement there as well. And the Leland cypress that are in the background have gotten so big. They used to be the perfect size. Now they've gotten so big they're almost reaching the porch. So there's room for improvement there as well. I may trim them back some. I'm not exactly sure what to do to help that situation. But I really appreciate you joining us this morning. If you liked the video, give Heather and I a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, and as always, we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye from the Back Porch Blind in Tennessee.